All right, hey everybody, how's it going out there? Thanks again for tuning in. This is going to be a pretty fun and exciting webinar, I think. And I think part of what it is we've got a lot of stuff going on in the market, and I think we've just started seeing some of the cutting edge of this. And so I wanted to be able to say what's going on, what's happening in the market, where can we see these opportunities. I doubled my account in 12 trading days. One of my accounts actually got over 100%. Another one I got 102%, and then my lowest one, which was a Roth IRA, I try and keep that one a little bit slower, was 70% in 12 trading days. And those subscribers of mine in the Moxie group were getting similar results, anywhere from 50%, 75%. I'm sure some people got even better because I know some people do like to use options based on my recommendations and whatnot, or suggestions and all that. And so this is should be pretty fun and exciting of showing you guys all this, because this is monumental for me. I usually can double an account in about a year, and I just did it in 12 days. So really pretty cool. And I just wanted, we kind of did like almost an emergency webinar, what the heck's going on, and let's see if we can keep finding more opportunities with that. So disclaimer as always, this is for education purposes. You know, I'm showing you this. There are no recommendations, no suggestions. There's nothing about advice that's been in this. And let's just make sure we have a good time. And I will definitely answer questions. You know, I'll kind of keep looking over in the chat box if there's anything I can answer in particular. And then I will definitely spend a fair amount of time at the end and making sure we go over some questions and whatnot. So the thing about the market recently is we've had a lot of things coming out. We had the election, we had the vaccine news, we just had a bunch of things going on. And if you looked at the market itself, you kind of think, well, what are you talking about? How the heck did you do this? Or what is going on? Like, why are people so excited? Because you look at the S&P and you just think like, oh, well, okay, we had a pretty exciting run here, but ever since that vaccine news, it's just been going sideways and really not doing much. What happened is all these things were kind of underneath the cover. You had to go dig a little bit and kind of figure out where these opportunities were. And so, for example, AYRO, which is in the electric vehicle space, this is on the hourly, 205% gain from $3.30 up to $10. That's what's been happening while the S&Ps have been just trading sideways. So really kind of some underneath the hood type stuff that we need to be aware of. And so one thing I wanted to demonstrate about this particular webinar, you know, like you guys are tuned in here, seeing what's going on. People are going to be watching this later and say, okay, what am I here for? You're just going to tell us, oh, you just doubled your account. Great. What's in it for us? Well, several sectors have suddenly come alive, and I'm going to be telling you where they are, what's going on, and what I have found happening out there. And then to make this worthwhile, because we want to make sure everybody has a good time here and enjoys their moments with us and simpler, is I'll be sprinkling in a few ripe trade setups throughout the presentation. So hopefully something good will be coming out of this for everybody. And then these trends could define 2021 for us as traders. And as I said earlier, it took me 12 days to make what usually takes me a year, and it's because of crazy moves like this. Now, immense gains are possible, but it's like riding a racehorse, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can damage your account quickly. So this got a little cut off, but this is IGC. This was my record trade that I talk about all the time in my promotions and stuff. This is where I made a total of 257% off of just stock on a cannabis stock back in the day. And this is, you know, I've gone into detail about this. And the whole purpose of showing this is to show what happens sometimes after these things. You get these massive run up like this, you know, there's a lot of hoopla, there's a lot of buzz, all that kind of stuff. And then it all fizzles. It goes away just as quickly as it came. And my last exit was here with 231, and it just fizzled from there. Now, IGC, maybe it was a sketchy stock, maybe it wasn't, but all these stocks tend to have their day and then they go away. And the same thing might be happening with some of these things. Let's catch them for all they're worth, but you got to know when to get out of them, and don't go hanging on to these things because they just might not last. And that's what you really need to be careful about with these markets. We get really excited. We get a whole lot of exuberance and euphoria, and we don't think straight, and then we give back all of our money. So some of the details to show you, hey, what did I just do and what's going on here? So record account growth for me. I came back from a 5-day road trip and began placing a few trades on November 10th. I mean, talk about taking a little break away from the stock market and then coming back at just the right time. I was even talking to all the subscribers and saying, well, I'll kind of sprinkle some in, see what's going on. And turns out we started loading the boat on November 10th. And then little did I know what the next few weeks had in store for me and the Moxie subscribers. And that's really in the span of 12 trading days. And I had to keep updating this slide deck. I had to keep updating. In 12 trading days with just stock, no options, I grew my various accounts 112%, 102%, and a 70%. So, and I'll show you the raw account numbers. So you look here down at the bottom, you can see Tuesday, November 10th, $615,000. And on the 28th, when I was starting to put this presentation back together, you can see here, it was 1.3. So 112% gain on that one. And I even have the chart overlay so you can see just what this looks like. I mean, it just went vertical at that point. And then some of the other ones. And what you can see here, what I like to show is that I trade my accounts nearly identically, which is why I get very similar results. And you can actually see here, I put an arrow here so that you can see visually in the chart of what my accounts look like. You see that little dip? They look about the same. And you can actually look along the way, they almost look all the same. Now, in some places you get a little bit more stretched here and you don't get as stretched here. That's because I trade them all about the same names. That's how I keep things making sense. But sometimes I have a little bit more in one name or a little bit more in another name, and we never know which one's going to really take off. But that's where we get the differences. So you can see the big account, the Roth. I try and keep that one a little bit slower, but 1.4 million up to about 2.3 and some change, 70% growth. And then on my small account, because I want to show you, it's just not always about the big numbers. I trade all of my accounts the same. And so whether you have a $1,000, $5,000, $15,000, $50,000 account, $5 million account, it doesn't matter. I would trade them all the same. And you can see here, this one started out with $42,000 and ended with $85,000. And you can just see that they both look pretty much the same. So doesn't matter what size. And you can also see that here. And I've for my subscribers, I post this all the time. You see every single one is about the same percent gain each day, except this one, I trade options on that one. It's my experimental one. And then this one, they all look about the same. And you can see that they all are various account sizes. So this was on the 19th of November. And I was running out of room because every day for 12 days, it was a positive, it was insane. Each day was a bigger day. And you can see here on the 20th, it was called 11% gain. And then on the 23rd, on average, it was what, 15, 18, 21, 18, 20, again, my experimental account, and then 20. So all the ones that I do just stock, they all were doing about the same. And then what you could see then a couple more days go by, we got the 25th, so 5% gain, and then 27th, 8% gain. And you could just see this is the same account right here, and it just kept growing. And regardless of account size, I trade them all the same, and I grew even my small account 102% in just 12 days using just stocks. A little bit of information about the subscribers, telling you, like, people were thrilled. I mean, everyone was really happy about this. $9,500 today. This person never thought that this would happen in one single day, and it's amazing. So these things may be a little bit rare, but they happen. I've done this before with that ICG trade. I've made 257% on a trade before using just stocks. 22% account gain in a week using just stocks. Rubberhead had a goal of 90,000 by the end of the year, and now he's at 95,000. So we're making goals happen. We're keeping promises. Even an IRA is up to 80% year to date. And so for those of you who are looking at an IRA and trying to kind of keep things slow and not complicated, don't want the risk of options, whatever, this is where you can go. And even Marty was saying, truthfully, most of my losses were in my options trades. Well, that's always been my luck. I have a hard time with options, so I just stick to what I know best, and what I know best is stocks here. And Benji, appreciate you always giving me some good feedback here, but sometimes stock can be better than options. And he was saying in small stock account, he could get around 30%, in the main account where he does other things, including options, at about 20%. So, there are definitely places for options. I have a hard time with them, especially with all the complicated strategies. So I just go long, or I'm out, or I go short, and I just just do what I do, and I find the really high beta, high volatility stocks. And this one's kind of funny, the crystal ball. I get this comment a few times because I'll show you in this presentation, I put out a few picks and then they just pop. And ACB is one of those. And actually we've had a few like this. AJ was saying fun is an understatement. You know, these things are really, really fun. Cannot be more happy to be part of this. And it's only been a few months and seeing the power of this. And so, you know, really looking forward to that kind of success. And then these last two are really, I think, important. So FS was saying, started Moxie on May 1st. Today officially doubled my money. And of course, the IRS says thank you. And then, yeah, he took every trade. And then for his case, he was on margin. Okay. And then Snake, as of today, my account is up 72% this month, all because of the fantastic picks. And thank you very much. So, and again, thank you guys to all the subscribers. This has been a really, really fun journey, knowing that I'm helping people out there and getting people where they want to be, and hopefully doing better than expectations. So what's going on here? Let's kind of talk about the couple of things that I see out there happening. We got vaccines, okay? The market has been dogged clearly by the coronavirus. Now, granted, it's done amazingly well after the fact. There's been a lot of pumping up, a lot of support. There's been the COVID stocks, but there's a whole section of companies and part of our economy and stock names that just aren't doing well, and they need to have a vaccine in order to get back to where they were. So now we have 3 companies that have vaccines that have apparently 90% efficacy. So that's great news. Now, we have the term COVID stocks. Now what we need to do is think about the anti-COVID stocks. So what are those? They are the high human density names, the hotels, the casinos, the cruise lines, airlines, entertainment, energy. All these things are going to apparently spring back. You know, so we think if we get a vaccine. And essentially, this is small cap IWM names, which are typically viewed, and I know a lot of you guys know this, as risk on or risk off type trades. So the fact that the IWM is breaking out on a monthly chart is really good for the rest of the economy and for the rest of the market. And then I've talked about this a lot too, sector rotation. I've spoken about this in my last class and numerous other things. And we've had a couple fits and starts about that before. I think it's here to stay. And I'll show you a couple technical reasons of why I think this is here. And remember, the market is forward-looking and forward-thinking. And because I know we're talking about vaccines, and we're seeing the market do its thing, and it's right in the middle of a new wave or second wave of coronavirus coming through, right? You're like thinking, oh my gosh, we're going back and shutting down. I'm up here in Washington area. We're going back to phase 1. Other places are shutting down. It's like, how can this be happening again? Well, because we do have the news of vaccines out there, and assuming they work and assuming this is going to get rolled out, then at some point we will be able to put all this behind us, and that's what the market is taking into account. So if we look at some of the names that are going to be needing a vaccine like this, JETS, so the airlines, this is the ETF of the airlines. If you go from roughly here to where they were, that's a 60% gain. Same thing with EB, Eventbrite. So think about people getting back to doing social things and sending invites out. Roughly to here, back to where it was about a 60% gain. And people who, you know, think about the financial crash and the financial debacle back in 2008, a couple banks almost went bankrupt, but people bought them up at $1, $2, $8, and now they came back to, I don't know, $30, $40, $50. And they just said, hey, they're not going anywhere, and they're at least going to appreciate. And so maybe that is a tactic to work with. Now, interesting to note, and I'm seeing this in a lot of places, the daily 50, which is the magenta colored line, and the daily 200 is exactly where price is starting to cross. Those moving averages are starting to cross, and this is all happening when that's happening. And this is a technical thing that I teach in my classes, and it's just very interesting to see that it's actually happening at the same time that these vaccines roll out. Kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit and think, what's really going on out there? Another thing, so we had an election, and things were voted on. More states legalized cannabis. Now, okay, you might have your own personal opinions about this kind of thing, but we're here to make money, and there are sectors that are moving, and if you don't want to trade these, then great. But hey, if you're fine with it, this is a business opportunity. And I think what it is that there's greater acceptance and legitimacy by having more states that are coming out. And think about it's a newish industry. You know, it's been out there. We've had the big cannabis runs and all that kind of stuff before. But I think we're starting to see a little bit more of that coming around. And we need to think then of the related businesses. There might be more IPOs that come out because of this. hemp, CD, CBD, beauty, health, and wellness. There's a lot of sectors that are in the cannabis industry that could actually benefit from this. In fact, the last ticker that I'm going to show is also benefiting from a growth in hemp, and we'll talk about that one. And then you think about those various sectors. So GRWG. So if cannabis keeps getting legitimate and acceptance and starting to spread throughout the country, you have to build these facilities, and these facilities are huge, and they take a lot of stuff. They take a lot of light bulbs, a lot of growing equipment, a lot of pumps, you name it. And so GRWG, which is a supplier of stuff like this, you're going to see this stuff go through the roof, and it is. And then how about real estate, IIPR, things like that that are going to be moving up because you're going to have to buy indoor grow houses for a lot of these cannabis things. And if you're interested, you get the MJ, which is the ETF for that sector. And as far as the technical thing, again, this is always amazing, which came first, the chicken or the egg. My technical indicators, the Moxie price trigger is saying, okay, here you go. And then you see here that we have the, it's a trampoline move, price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0. And then even over here on the hourly chart, you had the Moxie price trigger, and then you had yet another trampoline move. And all of this was surrounding the more legalization. So even though that there's news and events that come out there, the Moxie indicator catches it, and we find these things. So cannabis catching fire. I mean, look at this map. You can see that for the most part, there's a lot of legalization going on. There are only, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 states that are completely illegal. That's a very, very small percentage. The rest of it's either decriminalized, or it's medical, or medical and decriminalized, or just fully legal. There's a lot of states out there that are fully legal. So there's a lot of momentum that I think is coming behind this stuff. And I think, I think the first round was a lot of stuff about just the idea of these businesses going legal, and now it's actually acceptance. And I think we might be getting a round 2 of the cannabis industry. So talking about that crystal ball that one of the subscribers was mentioning here with ACB, what you'll notice is this was November 23rd, and this was November 23rd. This was in the morning, and I put out a trade alert saying, I think this is going to be working, and we started to do it. Then later that night, 23rd at 6:34 p.m., I don't know what I was doing. I was looking around the internet, and I saw that ACB had popped 20% overnight. And that's what I had mentioned. And we had bought it earlier that day. And then this thing pops and it opens 20% up, and it keeps running. This thing is even higher. I mean, this, great. So this is up even higher than when I had to make this slide. So we're doing really well. I don't even know the dollar amount it's at. And I know maybe you're looking at something like this and you're like, oh man, I missed out. Well, no, think again. There's still plenty of opportunity. One of those opportunities, I believe, is IIPR. Now, it's not, knocking your socks off like some of the other ones, and it might be a slow and steady name or whatever, but what is wrong with this stock? Everything looks amazing on this slide. I don't see any problems, and if you guys can tell me something that you see that doesn't look good on a stock like this, you let me know, and we'll see where this goes from this point forward. But this is kind of one of those things that I would leave with you and say, hey, you should keep your eye on this if you are interested in making some money around the peripheral of the cannabis sector. So keep an eye on IIPR if you're interested in that kind of name. Another thing that is going on is we have a EV revolution. We have the electric vehicle revolution. Now, everybody knows about Tesla. It's been going crazy. They did a stock split, but does anybody know that Tesla was added or will be added to the S&P? And that is what set this thing on its last round of explosive moves. Further acceptance, it's great. This is really happening. And then we get electric vehicles and NIO, which is kind of the Tesla of China. It has been doing great. I mean, look at this. Went from $5 to $55 in a matter of a few months. And even their last earnings, they beat estimates, they beat guidance. They're on a roll. They're doing really, really well. And this stuff is really something we need to pay attention to. And then think about power distribution and charging stations for all these things. There is a whole subset of businesses that are going to have to be created, a whole subset of the economy that is going to have to be created, and people will be hired and industries will be thriving. There's a lot of stuff that can benefit from a shift into electric vehicles. And then think about this as far as our clean energy, renewable energy. If we're going to be trying to power these things, does it make sense to be powering them with coal? If we're trying to run on electric cars, it's going to be difficult to kind of swallow. So renewable energy, solars, they've really come a long way, and we're starting to see those are very, very energetic. And then even alternative energy, F-cell, fuel cells, Bloom Energy, all sorts of interesting modern technologies that I think are coming out there. And then along with this is probably lithium plays, as far as you have to think about, well, what are we doing about power storage? Because if we have renewables, we can't just turn them on and turn them off as we want. We have to use the earth to help power these things, and we need to be able to store that. And lithium, for lithium batteries, is one of those directions, especially for electric cars. So definitely keep that in mind. Another section that we're talking about today, Bitcoin and alternative currencies. So precious metals, we've been watching that. They just keep dwindling, and it look like they're about to fall off the cliff. Now, I know I personally wouldn't be shorting it, I don't know, but this stuff is going to be, it's interesting to see that precious metals are not doing well in the face of blockchain, Bitcoin, all the other cryptocurrencies are just taking off and going nutso. So maybe this is a consequence of trillions of dollars being printed. Again, I'm not too much about the macro view and all this. I like to just trade the charts. But that's a thought. Maybe the devaluing of the dollar is having an issue, and so people are going into alternative currencies. Just a thought. And maybe it's this, that the technology is finally capable. Maybe Bitcoin has been around long enough that we finally kind of shaken out enough of the bugs, and people have proven that it's safe or secure. Maybe people can't hack into it. Again, I don't know too much about all this, but I think that there's clearly something that is happening again that is starting to fuel all this, and we just need to kind of think about what those things might be and say, okay, let's go for it. And then how about acceptance? Square purchased Bitcoin. PayPal is now dealing with Bitcoin. These are really big payment processing companies, and they are starting to work with Bitcoin. That's got to say something. And so the fact that these things are behind it, then we can move forward. What about regulations? That actually might be a good thing. If the government or if these companies come out and actually start putting regulations on Bitcoin, it means they've accepted it. Because if you don't put regulations on it, if you don't talk about it, then that means they don't trust it, they don't believe it, and they won't work with it. But the moment they say, okay, fine, and then they start trying to regulate it, put rules and this and that, and actually put a structure around it, it means they've accepted it. And that's kind of interesting to look at. Now, DK, yeah, I'm hearing some people asking about TradeView. We do have it for TradingView. We are in the process of getting it ready for shipment, basically, for disbursement. I have a meeting tomorrow to go over that. So you will be seeing Moxie on TradingView very, very, very soon. All right, another thing that we're going to be talking about, new frontiers. And this is really cool because we are in the 21st century. It's very amazing. Think about space commercialization, and as in space, which is Virgin Galactic, Max R. We've been seeing what SpaceX is doing. With their Starlink, and Elon Musk wants to go to Mars, and they're building that big rocket, the big BFR, big Falcon rocket. It's insane what they're doing, and I love watching this stuff. I'm all about YouTube, and I keep watching all these things, and so I'm mostly up to date on what's going on. It's pretty cool to be watching this and actually be alive during this time. And then if we look at, so one thing about SpaceX and their Starlink, the whole point of what they're doing is that they want to create global high-speed internet. There's been internet via satellite before, but we're redoing it, and we're doing it better this time, and it's going to be high speed. And so then think about, what about all those countries who don't have high-speed internet suddenly get internet, and they get it on their smartphones, and you guys know how strong apps like Amazon are and eBay and all that, and now they can start purchasing things like Amazon, any other products through their smartphones without much of an infrastructure, because they have high-speed internet globally through satellites. And then I think that makes something like JMIA, which is basically the Amazon of Africa, start to really take off. Think about these things. Think about where these powers are starting to go, and think about the revolution, and we need to catch those waves. And then we get into drone technology. This is actually a little bit close to my heart because I fly radio-controlled airplanes and helicopters and cars, and I've flown drones, and I was part of the aerial robotics club and team at U of A for college, and I was on the robotics team in high school. So that stuff's really, and I'm a pilot, so all this stuff really is close to me. And we'll be talking about that one. That one's UAVS, and I think that's kind of a hidden gem that nobody really knows about. And along with that, maybe there are such things as air taxis. We are still trying to figure out personal transportation in the modern era. So Space Weekly, I mean, look at this thing. Look at this thing. It just keeps going. And I think we're up here now. We've actually started to break out. We clearly know the potential of what space can do. And I think this is on a roll. So yet another name that if you guys are tuning in, you should be paying attention to, and it might work out for you in the future. All right, now a little bit just about me, as I said, about the pilot stuff. For anybody who hasn't ever heard of me before, hasn't seen anything, this has been my life for a long time. And I wasn't like bred to be a trader or something like that, but my dad managed his own money, and he took me to a stock trading seminar when I was 12, my first one. It was out actually in Texas. And I didn't know what it was going, like Fibonacci this and whatever that, and lines and things. And I asked one of the presenters when they were off stage, I said, is this really possible? Can you really make money from this? Can you make income from this? He said, of course it is. None of us were born knowing how to trade, and it's teachable, therefore it is learnable, and therefore it's teachable and it's learnable. And I said, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. And that was actually the thing that really helped carry me forward when I had some tough times. But all the way from 12, I was like, okay, there's something important here, and I need to know what's going on, and it is possible. And so a little bit about me. I graduated at Arizona State University with manufacturing engineering. That's how my brain works. So if you guys kind of see how I look at things, I'm very mechanical, very engineering oriented. That's why. And then I wanted to get into finance and money and help people. And so I became a financial advisor with New York Life. I loved it, had a good time, but it wasn't quite the right fit. Just the sales aspect wasn't really up my alley for that. And then I kind of parlayed that and went over and I got back into stock trading. Then I created my own indicator. And then my mentor said, hey, I think you really got something here, and you should teach with this. And so that's when I started my own company, Moxie Trader. And I've been teaching and trading and helping others with the Moxie indicator since 2016. And then, as referenced earlier, I'm a pilot. My dad and I are both pilots, which of course has really instilled a lot of discipline in me, because if you're reckless or don't follow your checklist, you can really kill your account. And it's this checklist idea that I took from being a pilot and I incorporated into stock trading, and it really, really helped my kind of trading. So that's what I was kind of talking about here, that the checklist along with the rules is what got me into some of these killer 200% trades in November, because we don't know that these things are going to be 200%. We don't know what's under the rock that we turn over. We just have to keep following the same rules and following that checklist and make sure we know what we're doing. And anybody who's a Moxie subscriber, gets this checklist, so they know what we're talking about. And then, so let's kind of go back. We did all of the overview of what we're going to be talking about. Now we're going to dive deeper a little bit into this stuff. Mark, I wish we could do pilot discounts. That would be fun, wouldn't it? And so vaccine news. We finally have a reason for a real sector rotation. I've kind of talked about this before, that one day, all these stocks that were super beat up and beat down and just not going anywhere needed a vaccine. One day, we're going to have a vaccine and these things will come back. And there were a couple times in the past where they really shot up only to fizzle and fade. And they kind of did that. And then finally, now that we actually have, like, as much as we can say, concrete vaccines that are really looking promising, I think this might be the real time. So we knew that this was going to happen because we've seen it multiple times before, and it was always the same play. If you guys were paying attention to it, it's always the same thing. Tech would come down and all these high human density names would pop up for a little bit, but they wouldn't last very long. Tech would start to take off again, and those who piled into these sector rotation names, it fizzled. It wouldn't go up anywhere. And then finally, I think this is happening. And so what we need to do is we need to build a list of stocks that will benefit from a return to normalcy. Now, Devin, I keep my actually price bars grayed out because I don't want to be distracted by the red and green. I just want to know where price is in relation to moving averages. So it's a way to keep things smoother and less distracting for me. So now this is the IWM, and you can see this was the vaccine day. And what did it do to the rest of the market? It continued to explode because this was legitimate for the IWM names, the small caps. But what did the NASDAQ do? It actually went down because of that COVID news, because of that vaccine news. It was, I don't know, counterintuitive, or it was completely backwards to the whole coronavirus thing that we've been seeing. And then what happened was it didn't fall apart, but they just kind of percolated here, and now we're starting to see them to move up. And I've talked about this before, and I think the reason that it is that, yes, we've had a really good move here with the IWM, but at some point, it's going to be overbought, and these things are going to need to unwind, sideways to down, and money's going to probably hop back over into here, into these other tech names, because they're not going to go anywhere. It's just a temporary transition of money going someplace. So do keep an eye on for that. Don't just hold on to these things and think that they're going to go forever. We do need to kind of trade them a little bit, but I think the cat's out of the bag. And what you can see here is that because of coronavirus and because everything was switching over to tech, and the place to be was the NASDAQ and all these big tech names, great, they're good for a while, but we need to keep an eye on the higher time frames. Look at the NASDAQ monthly. Do you see this giant gap between price and the monthly 10 SMA? Huge. And then what do we know? When price gets too fast, it pulls away from its moving averages and it's going to want to come back. And then you guys know that I like my third ATR bars right there. And what did it do? Price got way outside of that third ATR bar on the monthly time frame. This is huge, 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 huge. At some point, this stuff was going to have to calm down. So you can see here, price went beyond the outer ranges and pulled too far away from support. So big profits were looking to go somewhere. We just knew that this stuff was too high. Professional traders knew this, and they could see, okay, we're just kind of waiting, and we're looking for those fresh opportunities. And suddenly, just when a rest was needed, the right vaccine news came out, and the money found a new place to suddenly go. And that's where we got the IWM pop. And what you can see here, even Amazon, if you guys want to look at individual stocks, Amazon on the monthly, look at this giant gap between price and the monthly 10 SMA, and look how far outside of those third ATRs that price had gone on the monthly time frame. Just too overbought, just too overbought. And then you can see here that the way to also visualize this, because the IWM was already kind of an uptrend, we need to see, what did this really look like? Here's JETS, the airlines ETF. This is the monthly. So this is the monthly, this is the weekly. And you can see, and again, some of this stuff makes you scratch your head, but when did the vaccine news come out? When did these stocks pop? They popped right when they started to cross the monthly 10. Interesting. And then how about this? We found a double bottom here on the weekly 30, which just happens to be one time frame. And you can see that the 8 was starting to cross over the 21, and then this thing is now popped. So as I said before, you can't just hang on to these things, take them for what they're worth, but you have to realize, just like any other way that we trade stocks, they're getting extended right now, and it's likely that there's going to be a pullback, but watch for that pullback to complete on a monthly or weekly time frame, and then these things might actually start going, because look where normal is. Normal is all the way back up here. There's a lot of opportunity still left in these things. How about the daily chart for JETS? So note that the daily 50 SMA is crossing up and over the daily 200 SMA. This again is something that I teach about a lot of times, about how major trends change and how you can identify them. And again, funny thing, it's happening right here just as the the vaccine news is coming out. The 50, the fast moving average, is starting to cross over the slow moving average, which is a trend change. And funny enough, it's happening right when a vaccine comes out. And how about this? This is what blows my mind sometimes. Broad sectors acting the same. We got H, which is Hyatt or something like Hilton, something like that. Six Flags, and this is all the daily charts. We got the financials through FAS. We have casinos through Las Vegas Sands. We have cruise lines, and we have restaurants through Red Robin. More or less, don't they look the same? And what's happening? The 50s are starting to cross over the 200s. Right there, they're all doing the same thing, and they're all doing it at the same time. And they went sideways long enough that they're finally starting to go. So something to really, really keep an eye on and keep watching now. As I said, one more time, not exactly a great place to buy up here. Getting pretty extended. I imagine we look at some time, could take days, could take weeks, could take a couple months, we're not sure. But I figure there's probably going to be a pullback in here someplace to where we can really get better opportunities for these. I think this is really just the first move out the gate. Now, because of this, and this is maybe the crux of how I trade, you guys figure out, well, how did I know to get into some of these, or what did I do? Well, because the airlines are going up, I chose to go after high beta, high short interest stocks related to, in this case, the airline space. And one of those names that I've been tracking for a long time, we've traded it numerous times, was GoGo. Now, here was an exit alert on the 16th right here, because we had gotten in right here. And that was a good, I don't know, 10 or something % move. And I could see that I was getting a little bit overbought. And so we exited half right there. And then I kept waiting for what I call a trampoline move. You can see here, I'm waiting for the trampoline move. This is on the 20th. And we just got barely a little bit tagged out, but the idea was still there. So when this thing turned around, here you can see right here on the 23rd of November in the morning, I said, hey, the hourly trampoline setup is still valid. Everything's looking good. We got this certain maneuver that I talk about on the 15-minute time frame. And basically the next move should be over the 15-minute 200 and the hourly 50, which you can see right there. And if you want in, this is the good time to get in. And look at this. This was right there, the 23rd. That's when I posted it, and the very next day, pop. So that's kind of that crystal ball that some people talk about in reference to me, and feels good to have it. So I appreciate that. So now we then move into, let's dive a little bit deeper. Let me get some water here too. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the electric vehicle sectors. Kind of the same idea. We know that Tesla has been a beast and nothing has stopped that thing, right? If anything, it just kind of went sideways for a little bit and then exploded again. And then we have NIO, which started to catch fire and really get on there. Now, we have been on board in the Moxie group for 145% already. We entered right there on NIO, and I don't know, NIO's up here, something like that. So we've already been doing exceedingly well with NIO. And EVs were becoming a real thing and a serious contender to not be taken lightly. So I began researching EV names and built a list, which I would check occasionally because, well, they weren't really doing too much. And there were some that were moving. I was trying to find some opportunities. And I was thinking, if Tesla and NIO were making massive moves, then perhaps they would raise the tide for and lift all boats, kind of like that whole airline thing with GoGo. And so I started looking around. And then what happened was we got the warning shot. Now, I know a lot of you are familiar with this one. Here's Solo. This is the daily and hourly time frame. And let's see. I actually placed a small trade 15 minutes before I left on my 5-day road trip, and I just crossed my fingers. I set a pretty loose stop. I didn't put a ton of money on it, but I did put something because I was like, I got to follow that checklist. I got those rules and this thing looks good. And I know I'm going to be not around my computer or even able to trade. I'm going to be on a road trip out of cell service. I'm going to have no idea what this thing is going to do. And so I just put it on. And as this thing, I even went through or held through earnings. Those of you know me, I don't like to hold through earnings. So I held through earnings and it did fine. I'm thinking, okay. And by the time I got back into town and got back on my computer and checked things out, I was getting 139% on this move. And I was like, huh, something's going on. I mean, look at this thing. This thing just went vertical right there. And then even later, I was amazed. Later through here, it actually went for round 2. I didn't catch any of that. I just caught my 139% on that one and said, thank you. And then we'll move on. So you can see, where I purchased that information down here. And this is what I tell my subscribers too. It's like, hey, I might be doing some things behind the scenes. Maybe I'm taking some trades here that I'm not telling, and I'm kind of looking at stuff. I'm testing the waters because it's my job to be out in front, taking the hits, really testing the waters and researching stuff and bringing it to you. And so the fact that I took this trade while I was on my road trip, I definitely didn't want to put that out as a public trade because like I can't watch it. I don't know what's going to happen. But when it did happen, I was like, oh, okay, something's going on here. And so then what I did do is just in time for when I got back from my road trip, then we made some serious money. And that's when I looked around, I said, okay, I'm seeing the same exact setup on IDEX and AYRO that Solo did. I thought, okay, well, let's do it. I got my Moxie checklist. You can see here, here's the Moxie price trigger that told me that momentum had shifted. I was after earnings. Same thing on AYRO. We got that Moxie price trigger. It's after earnings. And then we got a pop up and we got a pop up. And we entered these, I think, at the same days on the 12th. And then I was actually even fooled a little bit. I was looking at AYRO right here thinking, oh, well, what if this thing pulls back to the hourly 50? And no, there was no pullback. It continued to pop. And so the experience that I had then with AYRO and the fact that it didn't pull back and it just kept going, and you look at Solo, it didn't pull back, it just kept going, told me that with IDEX, just hang on for the ride. There's no needing to feather this. There's no, oh, this is too extended. None of that. Just hang on all the way for all this thing is worth. And we did that amazingly. So we got in at through 98 cents on IDEX and rode this sucker all the way up until the 24th and got out here literally at the top at about $4. Now, give or take a couple cents because that thing was moving pretty quickly at that time. And that was a heck of a time. Now, this goes back to what I was saying with, if you guys haven't traded before, you're still kind of new, if you have never experienced something like this kind of volatility, this kind of stock, I've experienced this a few years ago. We just did it with solo. I've gotten a couple of these underneath my belt. I know how they work. And so when you look at this, I ask you, do you know when to get out? Because that's important. It can be easy to make money. It's difficult to keep the money. And that is what's important, is do you guys know the right time to get out? And if you don't, that's why you come and you subscribe to me, and I'll help walk you through this kind of stuff. But this smashed my record, 315%, where IGC was 257. And then, back to back with a 203, and then I got solo for 139%. This is the kind of stuff that really makes your year, or 12 days rather. And this is really, I do want to reinforce this. I'm showing you all the good stuff, but I really do want to tell you that there's still some danger out there, because here's the Moxie price trigger, and then we got a nice move up. But these moves can be drastic, and they can be volatile. And if you get in the wrong time, they're rough. 155% move, but then just as quickly you get this massive 35% fall, which is maybe half of what that is. And then you think it's going to go up again for round two, and nope. And then maybe round two, nope. And the whole thing just goes right back to where it began. So you have to keep in mind that as much as these things move up like this, they also come right back down when their time is over. So please just keep that in mind when you're looking at this kind of stuff. For example, did anybody see Nikola today? We traded that one. We got something like 45% and 60%, but then where it's at today, it's right back down to where we began. It would have given it all right back if you didn't get out at the right time. So this one is RIDE, R-I-D-E. And we kind of know the information now, but the big question right here is, what's going to happen next? Now, most of you might think, oh, it's going to probably bounce off this moving average, right? Well, it didn't, and I could tell that it wasn't, because of my experience and because of the way that I trade and the way that things are telling me. And right now, this price, I think, is something down around here. So as I said, and keep in mind, I created this slide before I even knew the future data. And I said it's either going to be a great entry or exactly where price falls, and it was the latter. It's exactly where price fell. And this is the kind of stuff that if you guys aren't careful about, it's going to be troublesome to your account. And that's why I'm kind of here to help. That's what we're going to be talking about. So lithium plays along with that. This one is LAC. Now this one continues to be a little bit of a bugger, but I think the sentiment is still there. I think it's still looking pretty good, and we're just kind of letting it percolate. But for this one, like if you got stopped out of LAC today, this is on the 23rd, and you want back in, I said tomorrow I think will be the day. It's looking good in the overnight, plus the lithium plays we have are looking pretty good, like PLL, and everything's great. The 23rd was right there. So the next morning on the 24th at 6:10, before the market opened, I said, okay, sound like a broken record, but I think LAC is actually ready this time. It looks good. Find a way in. I keep telling people, find a way in. This thing's looking good. Find a way in. And that morning, right there before it opened, and then it shot up something like 10%. Now, as I said, this one's got a particular characteristic to it, but the sentiment was still right. I called the move, and that thing popped, and then we had to deal with it a little bit later. We're still in it. And then here we go, famous last words. I always kind of like to have a little bit of fun, but on the 25th, I said, everything on LAC looks really good to go, and all we need to do is have the floodgates open. And that was on the 25th. And then you can see this is the 26th. So back to that kind of crystal ball thing, like, I got a pretty good feel for the market and usually what's going on, and I can kind of tell you what's happening. And this is the kind of messaging. I want to show you guys actual screenshots of the kind of trades and the kind of messaging and communication I put out there, so that if you've never had an alert service, if you've never done trading before, if you don't know what to expect, I'm showing you exactly what it is to be in our trading room. All right, now let's kind of get into the solars and wet the whistle. Chris L., some of these things, though, the Moxie price trigger does tell you when to get in, but because some of these things move so quickly, the indicator can actually be a little bit slow to get you out. Getting out can be more of a characteristic of some of the other aspects I use for trading, and also just the, hey, get out when you have a good price, and then just set a stop loss and let the rest fall where it might be. And Jerry, yeah, how am I position sizing? I do take 5 to 10%, but sometimes I'll add a little bit more when something gets going. And a lot of times, like that IDEX trade, I placed one entry on it and I never touched it. I didn't even add to it. But 300% gain will really make a difference in your account if you put a bit of a chunk on it. All right, so how about we could talk about solars? Along with the electric vehicles, the idea of renewable energies or alternative ways to power society and all the new electric vehicles is something that I think is coming out there. There's a lot of talk about it. If you look at the solars, they've been moving. A lot of these things are happening. Yeah, and Chris, no, don't worry. I tell everybody everything of what I'm doing. I text exactly how to get out, what I'm getting in. You literally don't even know how to trade if you follow me. That's kind of the whole point. If you just wrote follow me, then you're doing exactly what I'm doing. And that's the whole point of an alert service like this. I don't leave you guys hanging, nothing like that. And there's a lot of communication that I give. All right, so think about the electrical grid and infrastructure. For the most part, our electrical system has not been upgraded, and we could be gearing up for the Internet of Power. Now, what do I mean by that? Think about the internet. There is no central location, right? Every little node, every server, every data center, anything like that, they're all run by themselves. Everybody is just, you could take a bomb and you could blow up one place and the internet would still exist because it's this spider web. Well, our electrical grid is not exactly like that. We have a big nuclear plant. We have a big coal fire plant. We have a big natural gas plant. And you take down one of those, well, you're going to have a hard time filling in the gaps. Well, think about all the solar panels that are on every house. And if every house getting built had solar panels, now you're talking about the internet of power, because every house is its own little power station, or all the little batteries that each house then would have. Or there's been talk about Bill Gates trying to help make new nuclear power, and they would be basically like neighborhood-sized power grid. I mean, they'd be tiny and they're miniature nuclear reactors. Or we just have to keep thinking of all these little systems that kind of come together and add up to a big system, and that is what I mean by the Internet of Power. And because of this, we have to think of the new technology for many small power stations versus a few large stations. Think of each house that has solar. You have a lot of technology in each of that. You have circuit boards and electronics and parts and pieces. Or think about the multiple small nuclear plants. Every single one of them is going to have their own components. And so we start thinking about, there's a lot of volume that's going to go into this kind of stuff. So we start thinking and considering and talking about solars in this case. So Nova on the daily. I've been talking up solars for quite some time, and just recently, mid-November, and what you could see here, this is the line. This is where I started talking up solars. Now, I wasn't able to take any because I was literally too busy taking all the other trades that we were taking, but I still was on the ball and I was still communicating to my subscribers that this is a sector. If you want to be in, this is where you should be in. And Nova went 30% in a week. So there's definitely something happening here with solars. How about the attention getter? So just like NIO and Tesla, how they got the EVs going, kind of like that rising tide lifts all boats, Jinko Solar was the name that really got people's attention because this thing exploded. I actually was a bonehead and I tried shorting it right through here, and that clearly didn't work out. But you got to stop and you get out and you stop the damage. Holy cow! I mean, I don't know anybody who expected this kind of reaction to whatever was going on. But this got people's attention, and clearly something was going on with solar, because 270% in about a month on solar. Yeah, I think what we need to do is start looking around and say, okay, what other boats are going to be lifted by this tide being raised? This is crazy. So then you kind of look, you can see this is my solar, my kind of alternative energy watch list. F-Cell is in there. That one's going up 9%. SOL, I know we had a couple people in my room who actually took this on their own just because I was talking about things, and we got some pretty savvy traders in the room too. They like to chat in the chat room, and they're helping each other out. It's not just me by myself. People are in there helping each other. So it's a really, really great community too. So don't feel like you're just going to walk in and not know anything of what's going on. A lot of people out there to talk to. And SOL, I believe they caught this move, and maybe it's still going. I haven't really paid too much attention to it because I've been too busy in the other sectors. But yeah, SOL is going well. So you think, okay, well, what else is going to be going? I started looking into some of the alternative energy or things that were going to be supporting solars or supporting this kind of area. Well, CleanSpark, CLSK, You can see here on the 18th, before the market opened, I said it's an hourly trampoline move. And again, anybody who knows me knows that the trampoline move is my best trade setup. I love this thing, and this is why, because of freaking moves like this. But I said, seems to me all it needs to do is get past the hourly 200 and it could pop. The overnight is showing that it may be today, so keep an eye out. I may take a trade in CleanSpark. So this is what I talk. This is how I communicate to people. This is what I do. I'm holding your hands. I'm telling you guys what I'm thinking. I don't hide the ball or anything like that. Now the funny thing was, I was in a meeting, so you can see here 8:19 a.m. I hurry up and I send out an alert because this thing started to move. And I said I was in a meeting and this started to move. Let's grab some now and then see what it does by end of day. Well, that morning it kind of dipped down just a little bit, and by the time I was in my meeting, not watching my screens, this thing had already popped and it was right there. And I was like, oh no, this thing's taken off without us. So I just hurry up and sent out an alert and said, let's get in, and then let's see what we can do about later. Now, I couldn't really find a clean entry later in the day or even the next day, but I'm experienced with this stuff. I kind of know what's going to happen and what to expect. So on the 23rd in the morning, I said, CleanSpark is holding really well today. It's under, I'm guiding you. And I said, I believe the hourly 50 should be stronger and push price up eventually. And I want to see that we should, for those of you who aren't in or want to put more on, I'm pretty sure today will be a good day for that. And that was right here. So, that's kind of the stuff what I do for you and help you out. And then let's get into the Bitcoin. Let's get into cryptos, kind of talk about that space and what's happening. Bitcoin started to run. Therefore, just like NEO, just like Tesla, just like Janko Solar, just like these things that are paving the way for the other EV names and the solar names and whatever, what would move with a rising Bitcoin? Well, you go shopping, you start doing some research, and you figure out, oh, Riot, Mara, Ethereum, okay, these are all these other names that might start doing something for it. And I noticed we actually did trade Bitcoin. I want to say in through here. Actually, let me change that color. I think we traded it like here to something like here, and then it just kept taking off, which was surprising. And that was a 100% move. I don't know how long it took, but 100% move for GBTC, which is the ETF of Bitcoin, and that's what I trade if I need to trade Bitcoin. So we take that idea and we apply it to the other names that might move because of that. And here you can see on the 12th of November, kind of later in the day, because I'm an end of day trader, we go place a trade, and actually this was the second trade. So now we have a set, 1.5 positions basically. And I said, and this is the fun part, I said, in a perfect world, this looks like it should get moving tomorrow. And that was right here. And what you can see is the next day it did actually move. It popped up 10%, and then the day after that, it exploded. So Bitcoin kept running between the dates of October 27th and November 11th, but Riot and Mara weren't. It was kind of interesting. I don't know, again, I don't know what the reason why they weren't or what's going on. You could see that, right in through this area, Riot was not moving, even though Bitcoin was going like that. Okay, well, I still think that they should be moving together. This doesn't make much sense. So I really just kept an eye on it. And finally, Riot started to shape up. And once again, it followed all the Moxie rules. So, if you guys want to take the class, if you want to get the indicator, or if you just want to join the mastery, I have these rules out there for you when you are subscribers, so you actually know what the lingo is that I'm working with. So then what really happened was massive volume. I think this thing traded something like 10 million shares per day on average. And one day we got 82 million shares in a 50% move, and that was this sucker right here. And I was telling my people, I was like, I know this is crazy. I know maybe you want to feed the ducks and take a little bit off. I said, but when something goes from 10 million shares to 80 million shares in a day, it's not going back down. This thing is going to keep trucking along. And sure enough, it did. And we took some off up here at 98% gain in, I don't know, handful of days, something like that. So that was a really, really great trade. And once again, you can see that my checklist and my rules and my tools and everything were working pretty well. Now here's the fun part. And I've got to see if I can find my way in to getting more of this. But is this just the beginning? So this is Riot on the monthly time frame. Riot back in the day, I think 2017, I traded this. I actually traded some of this. I didn't get all of it. And it moved 1,000%. From down here to, I don't know, I just kind of guessed up here about 1,000%. if you just want to show the scale of this thing. And this is a monthly time frame. Right now, Riot has only moved 150%. And look where it is. You can't even, it almost doesn't show up on the chart compared to what it did in the past. And so if you look at this for scale, I know if you look down on the daily and the hourly, like, man, this thing is so far up there, like what's going on? I think it might just be getting going. Look at the volume. Look at when Riot was just going sideways right here. Look at the volume that was being accumulated on this thing in the monthly time frame. These are some of those elephant footprints that we talk about as traders, saying you got to look for volume. You got to see where people are going. Somebody knows something out there, and I think we need to be aware of that too. And so far, the subscribers are, Moxie subscribers are aware of this, and we've been trading this, and yeah, we're in it. All right, then we kind of get into the new frontier stuff. We've talked about the space commercialization and space tourism. This stuff is happening. Anybody watching this? Anybody been watching Virgin Galactic? It might be pie in the sky kind of stuff, but I think it's going to happen. I think we're living in the future, people. It's crazy. And so if we look at this, 300% is what space did when it first came out. Okay, kind of like Riot and kind of like some of these other things. They had a really big pop and then they flopped, but they take some time, they calm down a little bit, they get some more news underneath their belts, and now we start seeing, oh, okay, round two. I think round two is starting to happen. And the Moxie subscribers and I got in right there. I think just over 20 bucks on a nice little pullback, totally followed the rules and everything, and now we're having a great old day with this thing. But privatized space race, think about this: SpaceX, Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic. Space is the next like commercialization area. And again, think about how many businesses there are to support these ventures. And if they continue going, think of all the other IPOs that might be coming up and where we can get this and just the economies that this is going to build out. I think it's going to be a really, really exciting future for us. And then we talk about the Amazon of Africa. I, again, totally missed this trade. I traded some of it in the past. I think I got some of it back in here a few months ago. This most recent trade, yeah, I'm a little bummed. I didn't catch it, but I was too busy writing IDEX and AYRO and some of these other names. So, you know, you can't touch all the water. You got to be happy with what you can get. But the point is, we take this stuff, we learn from it, we take these experiences and we apply them to other things in the future. And so what we can see here is, as I mentioned earlier, new economies are being opened. This is the Amazon of Africa. There are a lot of people over there and they want to buy things, and maybe their economy is growing and they have cell phones, and now we're going to get global high-speed internet, which we talk about right here. And it's making online shopping easy. And then the business models were proven, like Amazon was proven in America, was proven in Northern Europe, all this kind of stuff. Now, when they move into developing countries, they know exactly what to do. They don't have to reinvent the wheel or anything. It's all set to go. They now have a blueprint to put into this stuff, and something like this is then clearly going to be benefiting from it. And then think about this: drone delivery, because we know that Africa is very rural. So what do you do about that? That's maybe been one of the things that's been holding back shipping and delivery and online shopping and, you know, point-to-point mailing. What if we remove all of that and we actually go into the air and we do drone delivery? How about this? So the drone age, and this is where I kind of came across this one, UAVs. Drone package delivery will probably be a big thing in the future. We know they're working on it. We know Amazon is working on it. And maybe in Africa is where they're actually kind of reversed. Maybe Africa is actually, they're going to really hammer this stuff out and to get all the kinks out of it, and then apply it to America and to other countries where there's more laws and rules and actually just more human density, because you don't want a package or a drone falling on somebody and killing them. It's another thing. It falls on a gazelle, and you know, that gazelle is not going to sue you or anything like that. And then also just plenty of major commercial applications. I mean, again, the technology that we have with brushless motors, lithium batteries, cameras, gyroscopes, GPS. I mean, we are so much in the future, it's unbelievable. And then if anybody, because this is really kind of close to my heart, has been paying attention to these personal transportation vehicles, flying cars, they're trying to make, they're not actually cars, they're just, you know, individual type vehicles, transportation stuffs, air taxis, helicopters of some sort, and then flying wings to where they actually put in multiple electric motors on the leading edge of wings to make them more efficient because you just have to blow the air over the wings. Really, really, really cool stuff. And then we can modernize farming, especially in developing countries, because you can put a drone up there and they can look at your crop and tell you where you're having rough spots, where you need more help or need more water. And we can actually be more conservative with water and more effective. I think this stuff is really cool. So then maybe this is a sleeper stock. You guys just remember, and maybe I'll go back, but look, remember, JMIA. I didn't actually touch on it, so here I am touching on it. JMIA, this is the monthly 10 SMA, and price bounced right off of it, and then it shot up 300%. And it did it on big volume. You see the volume bars down there? So then you go over here. Now, there's no guarantee, no promise, nothing like that. But you'll notice that UAVS bounced off of its monthly 10 once before, and it's right at the monthly 10 again. And it has a lot of volume coming into this thing. So if you guys want, do your own homework, do your due diligence, but I'm kind of putting some things out there that I think are things we need to look for and look at. And this could be really interesting. And as I said, you know, JMIA just bounced off of its daily 300 for 300% gain with volume coming in. Maybe this is a sleeper stock. Terry, have you actually looked at their website? Because once again, the market is forward-looking. I know that UAVS is mostly agriculture, but they seem like they know what's going on. They are building components for other drones that are going into other components. I think this is something that we should just watch for, okay? Now, challenges. Now, we talk about this a lot, and I do want to make sure, for as fun as exciting as I make this look, I've been doing this a long time. I've had my fair share of losing a lot of money. And you know, just now I've just doubled my account in 12 days. So I kind of feel like all the years of work have just finally come together, and everything's amazing. I've now been working at Simpler almost 2 years now, and it's just feeling great. And I want to make sure that anybody else who kind of wants to jump on board and you know, experience what I'm experiencing and say, okay, I see that you can do this kind of stuff, and I understand what it's like to not know how to trade and not know how this stuff makes sense. Because trust me, I was there, and I had to kind of keep figuring out how to do this, and it's all just really coming together. And that's why I wanted to get this webinar out there and be able to tell people. So the one thing to really be concerned about, because you know, I'm not an investor, I'm a trader. So just because a stock goes up doesn't mean it's easy to trade. You know, if you look back at IGC, or you look back at some of these other stocks that like ride, where they go up and they come right back down, you need to know this. And I have stories of family members, of friends. I just had a lady call me last week, and she, back in, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, she and her friends were in a stock and they made huge money on it, but none of them sold it, and they gave all that money right back. So how many times have you heard someone making a ton of money on a stock only to lose it all because they didn't sell, or they didn't know what to do with it? And when we're gonna be running into some of these things that go vertical on us, or they just are so volatile you've never experienced it before, that is where my experience can kind of come in and help you. What about you have a full or part-time job and you can't sit at the computer all the time? Well, that's my job. I like to do that. So I'm there talking to people, and I'm out there looking at the market for you, kind of being like that nanny to make sure everything stays safe. Or if you're relatively new to trading, this is exactly the kind of thing that you come in. You come in, you're part of the mastery. You know, I'll hand out some trades. You guys take it. I'm watching it for you. You don't need to have the experience. And you grow and you learn while you're part of the mastery. You talk to the other traders. You come in for my live trading, which I'm up here. So this is actually pretty pertinent. So next week on Tuesday, December 8th, I'll be hosting a live Moxie trading session. I do this once a month. It's part of the membership. And this is where people just kind of learn through osmosis. You know, while you're trying to get your feet wet and trying to get all this figured out and do all this kind of stuff, this is where you come in and you actually see me do my thing and talk about it and really just explain stuff. It's a huge value. A lot of people are always in that, and it's recorded and people just love it. So And then that's what I do. So let me help you as you follow in my footsteps, and no need to reinvent the wheel. I mean, I'm already doing it. No need to, I've got all the tools, I've got all the things figured out. And if it resonates with you, if this is your style of trading, then come, great, come join. And one thing I would like to say is someday the music will stop on each of these names. You know, look at IGC. IGC went up and then it came right back down, and it's been a dead stock ever since. Okay, there's my pretty looking face, so yay, I got that. And then, okay, here you go. So this is where you can sign up. We got the website, simplertrading.com/Moxie. You can call if you need to. This is the quarterly membership, and then the annual. Obviously, the annual membership is going to be a much better deal. Up to you if you want to. I know a lot of people kind of get in there and then they love it, and then they switch over to the annual, so that's cool. And then a little bit to tell you what you're getting into, what you can expect. As I said, you get the live trading. We have that coming up on Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. You guys become a member, you get in here, you can come over, you can ask all the questions that you want. I may not mute you right away, might mute you later. And once you are in there, you can actually become in the chat room. Let's see, I think, well, I don't know. We have a chat room in there. A ton of people are in there talking, having a good time, keeping it safe, respectful. Nobody's been mean in there. And that is where we actually learn a lot. And I'm in there, I try to answer. It's getting pretty big now, so I can't answer all the questions, but I do my best to try and make it a very educational area. And then you're gonna get these real-time alerts. I send them out whenever I need to. Most of the time, my entries are at the end of the trading day, and I tell you what's going on, tell you how the vibe of the market's going, and yes, I get you into the trade and I get you out of the trade. So don't worry, I'm not leaving you hanging, and I just go throw something out there and then just say, okay, whatever. And then member downloads. Once you become part of the mastery, there's a lot of stuff already there. A lot of videos that I've made. You get a lot of PDF information, and then you get all the historical stuff. You get all of the old live trading segments. You get everything. And there's more than you can probably even chew if you really wanted to, because of all the historical stuff. Every live trading session is out there. And then you get the trade spreadsheet. That way you can follow along with the trades that I'm doing and that I'm putting out there, and you can actually see what's going on. And I keep it updated for you. Speaking of which, I don't think I actually updated it today because I've been too busy trying to get this thing ready. And then you get the newsletter. I put out a newsletter twice a week just to make sure we keep in touch with everybody, and a little bit more of a way that you guys can stay in touch and think about, understand what I'm talking about. So live trading offers the fastest way to make these tools your own, because you get to immediately apply them in real market conditions. And so, as I said, next Tuesday, that's when we're going to be doing that. You can see that here. It's going to be the last 2 hours of the market. Operators are standing by. Doesn't that look cute? And it's I'm an intraday trader, so the market in Central Time closes at 3 p.m. So we do the last 2 hours of the trading day, which is my trading day. And you can see here every other one that we already have planned. So this is where you can definitely get your fill of the Moxie trading, live trading. And yeah, here's an example of the trade spreadsheet. We make sure you guys know what we're doing, how much we're doing, what it looks like, anything else like that. There's no hiding the ball. There's no being sneaky, anything. Everything is out there. I'm very transparent, and I got nothing to hide. So I think we've got a lot of very happy traders with us. And then this is the dashboard. These are all the weekly video updates that I put out. So every week, Friday afternoon, usually sometimes deeper into the weekend, I just do a review of, hey, what did we do this week? What names are we looking at? What names did we take? How are they looking? And that again, so we have the live session once a month. I do this once a week. And there's a lot of information that you guys can just glean from this and kind of just learn through osmosis. And then, yeah, we want to make sure you know this. If the monthly bill looks or quarterly looks a little bit steep, hey, no problem. We got PayPal for you, 0% interest for 6 months. If you guys are interested, that way you can kind of make it a little bit easier for you. I mean, 6 months, that's a great deal. And then we'll go back here, and I think that's about, yeah, I think that's the end of it. So I'll leave it here. Let me kind of take a look. We'll answer questions for a few minutes and see what you're doing. So Jasper, you're asking if the Moxie members are primarily Moxie only, or are they members of the other ST rooms, Simpler Trading rooms also? It's a mix. I definitely have a lot of people who are Moxie only because they don't really want to do options, or they like me particularly, or for some reason. But we get a lot of cross pollination because I do talk in the options room. I do do a guest spot in there twice a week, and people just like the way that I see the market and how I trade. And if they figure that if they can get a few extra trades from me and the options room, then great. You know, it's helping to pay for their memberships and whatnot. So yeah, just kind of whatever people want. And I am in the chat every day with the subscribers. Yeah, I'm definitely in the chat. As I said, I can't answer everything. There's a lot of chat that goes on there. I get a lot of questions, and sometimes it's a little challenging to try to answer questions that are visual through words. So I do the best I can, but yeah, I'm always in there. And Eli, no, right now, that what you're seeing right here, this is for the Moxie Mastery. This is for the alert service. All right, this is for the alert service, and the Moxie indicator is a separate thing, and the class is a separate thing. The tools are separate. This is for people who maybe don't want the indicator, or maybe just want to be told what I'm doing, and that's all you do is follow along with what I am, plus all the education that comes with it. And David, I mostly go long. Shorting doesn't come along very often, and when I do, it's just not. It's pretty tough on the short side. Plus, the market right now doesn't want to go short. Shorts are very, dare I say, rare and not often. So I don't really go short. Chris, no, is the Moxie indicator required to be effective with the program? No, because you're following what I follow. If you can choose to take the trades that I post, and I'm telling you exactly what I trade. I literally take every trade, and so I'm heavily invested in the trades that I take. And so no, if you wanted to just take the trades I put out there, you can do that. Yeah, Judy, I'm glad you're enjoying this. Yeah, cutting edge names for the folks to trade. That's why we wanted to come out with this right away, because I was seeing that there's some stuff happening, some things changing, and I want to make sure that people are aware of the sectors that I think could make our next 2021 year. Yeah, Popeye, so Moxie indicator, Moxie scanner, those are separate issues. If anybody is interested in this, just go to our website. You can go to simplertrading.com/stocks. And that's where you can find information about the indicator itself, the scanner, the class, all these other things. Right now, we're just talking about, like, what you're seeing on the screen is just the mastery, which is the alert service. Torsten, how long do I hold trades? That always depends. I mean, it will be as short as one day, because maybe I got in a trade and literally the next day I get stopped out. That happens. Sometimes I will be in for a few weeks. Like I had GDX, we held on to it for a month. Neo, I think we're probably 6 weeks in, something like that. I am a little bit short of a trader. You like to hang on to them for a few days to a couple weeks, but honestly, it's just kind of however long the trade goes. I'm not a day trader, if that answers your question. Henry Campbell version 2.0. No, there's no starting capital amount that I recommend. You saw that I had a $13,000 account. I have a $15,000 account. I have a $2 million account, and I trade them all the same. So it doesn't matter. And as far as lower price tickers, whatever, if it's $2 or if it's $200, if you want to put $5,000 on that name, you just buy the corresponding number of shares. That's what I do. That IDEX trade, I was trading that in the $10,000 account and the $2 million account. Doesn't matter to me. And that IDEX trade was 98 cents. But I also go up and I buy stocks that are 80, 90, $150. IPRs, I think 150 bucks. Yeah, I'm trading that. So it doesn't matter. And Judy, yes, I do have people in Moxie who are trading options. I give no guidance when it comes to that. I will dabble a little bit. Like I got two tickers right now that I have said that I am buying options on, but I don't do any option strategies. Like if I'm going to buy an option, I just put a call on. I keep it real simple, and I just go long the call options. And if anybody's going to be asking me option advice, I don't have it. I do not. Options strategies are not my thing. And then Nick, no, the strategy class does not come with anything like this. The class and the indicator are all separate. Um, so Joe, what average percent of the portfolio is invested at any one time? Again, depends on the market. Sometimes, like when I was on my road trip, I think we had only Neo. We only had a small portion of Neo. Other times when the market's just not doing well, we'll have maybe zero, one or two names. We're just trying to dabble in the water, see what's going on. Other times when the market is red hot, like what it is right now, I'm actually putting on more than I can handle. Like I'm fully invested right now. I have a bunch of names on right now, and it might be a lot for people to swallow, but I'm at least putting out good trades that people can choose to take. And if they need to, put a small amount on all the names, they can do that. I put out good trades, and then they kind of decide how much they want to allocate to their account. So Henry, with the 100% gain, am I in cash for the bulk of your account? No, I'm invested. Like I have sold out of those names that gave me that money, and I've rotated the money around. I mean, it's just like rotation. So I took my 300% gain in IDEX, I sold it, and then I go invest it in something else. Let's see. Oh, Steve AK. Yeah, just you're gonna have to talk to the customer service for stuff like that. Any kind of financial things, not my forte. Just talk to the team. Let's see, Ben, March. I don't know. That's a random month for me to remember what I did. If it didn't do too, if March was not too well, then I probably just stepped aside because I just don't really like to trade short. So when the market gets funky, my trades don't work. I know that, so I just step aside. That's the sign of a good trader, is just knowing when your system, when your style just does not work. And I believe, so if anybody buys Moxie now, I think that when we get the trading view indicator, it's just going to come with that. So if you already own Moxie, we're not charging you for trading view, for the trading view version. I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to go. And David, yep, I pretty much just trade stocks only. There have been 2 trades in the last month that I said, hey, I'm putting some options on this. And all I say is, this is what I'm doing. I'm considering it. I've bought a couple, that's it. But I'm not an options guy. GJ, so what if I can't make or follow trades in the morning, but only during the afternoon? Well, most of my trades, like 98% of my trades, I place at the end of the trading day. So that really should work well for you. I do work with stops. So if you can't be at your computer in the morning or kind of watch your positions, I always tell people use a stop, because things happen very quickly before you can get to your computer. And if you are tied up during the day, you have to run stops, and you might get taken out and it might bounce back. But that's just how stock trading is. You can almost always get back in at some point. So operate with stops if you're not available to be at your computer. Well, operate with stops no matter what, really. And then if you're at your computer, then just bonus. Ken, I think what you're asking, yeah, the alerts are real time. The alerts are real time, instantaneous. And then CJ, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can upgrade from quarterly to annual down the line. The customer support team is, they really take care of our subscribers. We have a lot of very happy people who've been with us for a very long time, and we have great people that take care of you guys. And Aaron, do I mostly find the trades through the Moxie scans? Yeah, a lot of them I do. I also just have a very long list of stocks that I look through every day or every other day, and you just kind of have your ear to the ground. You kind of just hear what, this is my job. I'm out there. I'm talking to a lot of people. I have a lot of subscribers that bring names to me. Hey, Kate, take a look at this or take a look at that. I'm just in it. I listen to other traders as well, and I just kind of come across stuff. But yeah, some of the stuff, some of my best trades, I find through the Moxie scanner. It is a great scanner. Patty, how do I place my stop losses? Oh, that's something we'll kind of get into actually during these things. David, I have different account sizes, even though I trade them basically the same, because, well, I have different accounts. I trade for my family, I trade for myself, and I can't commingle all of the funds, so I have to have multiple accounts. Gabe, yeah, actually, this whole grandfather thing that's just a misnomer. Let me, I think we can go back to, we updated one there. Popeye, do I trade synthetic stock positions? I'm familiar with that. No, I don't. Um, yeah, I just don't do that. And then, I do have subscribers in there who do trade leaps. So they take the ideas that I put out in stocks and they just buy a really deep in the money, long-term expired or expiration option. And basically it becomes like buying the stock for cheap with more leverage. So, hey, however you guys want to trade it, that's up to you. I give you the idea, I give you the structure of what I'm doing, and then it's up to you afterward of how you want to do it. Gwen, if you're interested in the Moxie indicator, go over to simplertrading.com/stocks, and that's where you guys can get all that stuff. And yeah, as far as TradingView, I literally have a meeting, I think it's tomorrow or the next day, about how we are going to package the Moxie indicator for TradingView, and we are in the process of getting that thing built to actually get it out and into your computers. Mike, yes, the checklist does come with buying the indicator. Same with, and I don't know. We have a couple different packages, so whatever package all that is. But yes, the checklist does come with all that. Nick, I use both SMAs and EMAs. And David, yeah, I'm very communicative to my people. I tell them exactly what I'm doing. For example, like as I said, I don't often do options because I've just never had the greatest luck with them, but I dabble with them a little bit. And again, if I do, I just say I'm buying a long call. I don't do any verticals. I'm doing this fancy thing. I don't do butterflies, nothing like that. And I do communicate to people what I do. Yep, PT, there is a log of all the alerts and there's a log of all of the trades that we've taken. So there is, for sure. And Henry, I do use margin accounts. So, my trading is my trading. I give out the kind of trade. If you guys have a margin account and want to use margin, by all means, that's up to you and however you want to trade. I give out ideas, I give out the structure, and then I actually take the trades myself so I know how they're going. That's why sometimes, I put out a trade. Hey, if you want to put 50% of your account on one of my trades, by all means, that's totally up to you. However you want to handle your account, I just give you the ideas. Yeah, DD, I know. Family trade, right? Yeah, I get a lot of jokes about that too. And that is the last class that I taught was because the market basically melted down during the COVID situation, and I watched my parents' money, my uncle's money, my sister's money, all just trade lockstep with the market because it just kept going lower and lower and lower, even though they were with a financial firm. And I thought, huh, they're not doing anything. Like who's at the helm? Who's steering this ship? They're not selling anything. I actually started looking into the names and positions that they had within the mutual fund and whatever, and I thought this was highly irresponsible of these people, and I just didn't think that they were doing anything. And so that's when I said, give me all your money. Let's open up a couple accounts. This is literally my job, is to trade and tell other people how to trade. Let me go trade for you in your accounts and make money for you. And it has, basically everyone's real happy with me now. I just doubled all their accounts in 12 days on top of everything I made for the last few months. So yeah, Thanksgiving was good. I think Christmas was good. Yeah, my family's very happy. In fact, my sister is a hair and makeup artist up here in Seattle. And because of COVID, she was getting some jobs. Now she's out of a job again. She's self-employed, so she's a free agent. And when she saw that I had doubled the account, she called me and she was almost crying. She said, thank you so much for what you've done. This means so much because now we don't have to worry about money because, I'm potentially out of a job until COVID is over, because she does hair and makeup. She's all up in people's faces putting makeup on them, and that's, highly contagious kind of thing. And now she's like, wow, because they have a 2-year-old. Her husband is actually the stay-at-home dad. She goes out and does the work, and she was really getting scared about not having any jobs on the horizon, and the fact that I just took their brokerage account, which is basically ordinary income, and I just doubled it. now they feel really good, because it wasn't, it was a healthy account. So that will last them quite some time. And from this point forward, it'll just keep getting better. And Henry Gamble 2.0, how much do I risk on each trade? On average, 5 to 10%. And I do tell you about that. Now, some people, what they do is they actually double up what I say. If I put out 5%, people put on 10%. That's up to you. And I basically just say, hey, I'm doing a first piece, and then if it goes well, I'm adding a second piece. Or if I think something's really going to work out right off, I'll say, okay, I'm going double size this first time. So it's really kind of up to you, however you want to allocate to your account. It's just first piece, second piece is kind of the idea of how I do it. And then Gwen, I use Street Smart Edge simply because my money's with Schwab. My dad has been with Schwab since I was a kid, and that's just kind of what we've been grandfathered into. And then Eli, right now is probably the most number of trades that I've ever had on at any given time, and it does feel like a lot, but the market's doing pretty well, and I'm doing well managing. It's easy when the market is easy, trading is easy, and having a bunch of trades on is easy. It's when the market is a mess or something changes that having a lot of trades on can be a little bit of a headache. So the fact that I have so many trades on right now kind of tells me that the market's actually doing pretty well. Yeah, GJ, licensed folks are licensed to lose other people's money. I know. That's why I said, hey, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I think that any of you who are here are doing the same thing. You want to take matters into your own hands, and you all feel capable of doing this. And we have a lot of savvy traders who are, following us at Simpler Trading, following me, and we get a lot of people talking and giving me ideas, and I talk to them when I do the live trading. And yeah, we've got a lot of strong people there, and it's just that I kind of have the tool, and this is my day job, and I eat, sleep, breathe it, and that's what you guys are signing up for and paying for, is the fact that I'm watching over everything. So you can trade, you can do your own thing. People like to trade on their own. They will take their own trade ideas once they learn more from me, and then we kind of all do it together. So one big happy family, really. And Henry, as far as okay, will this strategy work with a big market crash? The way this works is you go to cash when the market crashes. When COVID hit, all of my stops started hitting, like, oh, stopped out here, oh, stopped out here, oh, stopped out here. Great, no problem. Because then when the whole thing rolled over and we started seeing the world meltdown as far as the stock market goes, I was in cash because all my stops get hit. That's exactly how this works. And then once we kind of got a handle on what was going on, then yes, I did take a few short trades, and we rode that down for a little bit. And then when things turn around, we go long. But yeah, when the system doesn't work, the market's screwy. When the market is good, the system works. And that's with any trading system. You got to figure out the time of the season that your trading style works. And so sometimes my style does not work. And that's exactly when I'm saying, hey guys, not the time to be trading. I'm going to cash, or I'm going to try like a small size here or a small size here, try little pop shots. And yeah, that's how you just make sure you trade. Popeye, maybe one of Mandy, maybe if you can help me out with what Popeye's asking, that the indicator and scanner is not in the store. So I don't know about that, but if anything else, Popeye, just give us a call and they'll hook you up through that too. Gwen, yes, I do actually have stops in place. And Ken, yes, I do give the specifics for the stops. I give the full trade when I give it. I give you what I'm going in at, I give you the stop, and then I watch it, and then we update stops, and then when I exit, I give you exits. I hold your hand through the whole thing. Yep, I alert everything. Okay. That is pretty much it. I think we've kind of run out of questions, which is fantastic. And we're right on kind of our schedule, about an hour and a half for this whole thing. So I think that is fantastic. And yeah, PT, the spreadsheet's in there, but then as far as the alert log, I just go into the classroom and just scroll all the way back through all of the alerts. It's a lot, but they're there. All right, guys. wow, we've had a ton of people in this session, and I know even more people are going to watch the recording. So thank you again to everybody who's here. Hopefully you guys see that I just love doing this. It's been a fun journey, and it just really feels good to see what just happened in the last 12 days, because it wasn't just me succeeding. It was everybody else who has signed up and who's been a member with me ever since I began with Simpler, or even those lucky ones who got in, a month ago, happened to just catch the wave just right. We never know what we could, there's no guarantees, no promises. We don't know what the future is going to hold. But I think that there are a lot of things, a lot of exciting stuff for us to look at. And I'm perfectly capable of doing this again and again and again at some point, just need the right opportunities. And I'm super excited for going forward. And I would love to have as many people on board enjoying and succeeding the way that I am too, and all the other subscribers. So that's kind of where I leave it off is, this is fun. I like it. Sometimes it's challenging, but there's always something different. And I think you all are here and watching me and coming to the stock market for a reason. And I think that's what's motivating us. So hope to see as many of you in the class, or live trading coming up on Tuesday, see new members here, and it's going to be a fun time. So looking forward to it. We'll talk to you in the chat room, and till next time, we'll see you later. Enjoy.